Alright everybody, this video is going to be going over the modifications that I've done to my Gen 4 Glock 26 in order to run an Olight PL Mini 2 weapon light. First thing, check, make sure we're clear, and then we'll get into it. So first thing I want to show you guys, just so that we can get right into it, is how that rail is cut into the frame. Some of the dimensions on it too, so that you're not wasting a whole bunch of time if you just want to know how to do it yourself. So from the top rail, it's down right at 0.4 inches. You might not be able to see that super easily, but 0.4 inches from the top. Width of the slot is just under 0.1 inches. It's 0.09 there. The other one is, it's right around 0.1. So if you go 0.1 on your slots, you'll be good. Now you do need a slot here on the bottom. Otherwise, whenever you go to pull this out of your holster, if you don't have that little side locking bar, whenever you go to pull it out of your holster, the light is just going to slide right off of the front of the frame. So the dimensions of that, back from the front, we're looking at 0.2 inches, and the width is 0.15 inches. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk a little bit about why I did this. So there is a Recover tactical rail that will clamp around the rail guard and then allow you to mount whatever weapon light you want. The problem with that is that it drops your light down, obviously because it has to add thickness, the plastic piece. So it drops your light down quite a bit, and your fingers can't reach as easily the switches. Plus it makes it a little bit more bulky and just not as optimal for carrying. So mounting it directly to the frame is a better solution, as long as you don't mind modifying the frame. The other modification that I made was to cut this trigger guard, this front edge here. The reason I did that was so that I could push the light further back and get the switches more into an ergonomic position. Another side effect of that is that it allows the light to interface with the trigger guard better and lock it into a much more solid position. If you don't want to modify that trigger guard, it's going to put your light about like that, about that far forward, so you can see that it's not as flush on the front, which is fine if you want it to be that way, if you don't want to cut that off. The other thing is that it will allow some wiggle. I don't know if you can hear that. That's just sort of inherent to the PL Mini mounting system, that there's some slop there. So by pushing this back one click, that allows it to be, rock solid. The dimensions I gave you allow it to fit without modifying this, because that's how I originally put it on, and then noticed that I wanted it to be a little bit tighter fitting, so I modified that back there, slid it back one position, and then got it all locked down tightly. Now, some people say that just use a TLR6. It's already made for this. It clamps on there. It's fine. TLR6 is not a great light. It's 100 lumens, kind of subpar in my opinion. I'd rather go with, even though it's an Olight and some people have issues with Olight, I'd rather go with this being a decent light compared to 100 lumens, which is honestly laughable. So that's why I went with this. That's why I did this. I've been carrying this for probably a little over 2 years now and haven't had any issues with it. And one of the things we're going to look at here in a minute is the strength of the frame after doing this. And I can show you guys that the amount of material that we remove is not enough to weaken the frame to where it's going to cause a problem with strength. Really what we need to look at is the depth of the cut and how much material is remaining on the frame. And if we measure to the deepest part of that groove from the inside, we've got 0.12, so almost 1/8 of an inch of plastic remaining. And then over here, just under 0.12. And if we look at a polymer 80 frame and we measure that same spot, we get 0.075 roughly. And that's even measuring to this point here, which you can see is slightly thicker than the rest of where the rail would be. So instead of 0.75, you're probably looking at 0.065. So we've got 0.12 versus 0.07. So quite a bit more, almost 1/16 of an inch more plastic remaining here than a polymer 80 frame. And I have not heard anything about people breaking their dust covers off of polymer 80 frames. So some other lights, if you wanted to go with, you know, a bigger light, something that's not an Olight, you could do that. Let me put the slide back on. You're getting back up into an area where I would just say get a 19 then, because you've got, you know, that much length added to it. A 19's going to be flush with a TLR7, so just go with a 19. And then if you really want the grip chopped down, then chop the grip to a 26. So really this only makes sense if you want to go with a compact light like this. I saw there's obviously this PL Mini 2. Claris came out with a light. I don't know reliability wise if it's any good. Holster, you know, finding a holster is going to be a problem, but it looks similar in geometry to the PL Mini, so it's possible that there's some cross compatibility. But for this, all I had to do was go and buy a Glock 19 holster that was made for the PL Mini 2. You can see it fits in there fine, and then I cut the leading edge off and reformed it around the front. Very easy to do, simple modification. Like I said, this is the holster I've used for over 2 years as my primary carry. I carry at strong side hip, you know, 4 o'clock, and it hasn't been an issue. So that's the major points about this. If you do go with a different light, like I said, like the TLR7A, I don't know that any of the mounts are going to work. I didn't pull them out to check, but you'll have to possibly get somebody to 3D print you a mount that would go in there that gives you that crossbar, because if you try and mount this and just crank this down tight, it's not going to work. As soon as you try to pull this out of your holster that likely retains on your light, it's just going to pull the light right off. Your light's going to stay in the holster, and then there's no point in carrying the light if it stays in the holster. So that's one thing you'll have to figure out if you want to go with a bigger light. But I would suggest if you're going to do this modification, do it because you want the, you know, small form factor of one of these compact, you know, ultra compact lights, and just go with a PL Mini 2. It's an Olight, but it's, you know, it's the best that we have, so we have to make do with it. That's all I got for you guys. Have a good one. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below, and I'll get back to you.